in the trailer park capital of the world, apparently, for this week's episode of AEW Dynamite. I've always wanted to visit. Also, hello, my friends, and welcome to Ups and Downs for AEW Dynamite, and we're on the road to Allin. We're always on a stupid road when we're heading towards a pay-per-view. Where's the train? Where's the bus route? And where's the airplane? I'll let you think about that. Let's Ups and Downs. Also, if you are coming to Allin 2024, What Culture is having an event beforehand. There's links and stuff in the description down there. I think you should come. Anyway, all of this was because MJF had walked to the ring and he wanted to talk to a bunch of crackheads. Once again, these ain't my words, this is what Maxwell Jacob Friedman said. MJF, of course, is still doing his American hero gimmick, which is now totally out of control, because he walks out and in every city he goes, I don't mean you, I am talking about my city, Long Island. Like, he didn't say that here, but that is what he's insinuating. So when you do break it down, this is one of the strangest gimmicks in a while. He also called Will Ospreay a red coat terrorist who was trying to win his championship back. I had to lay down at this point and I was like, man, within wrestling in 2024, we are now talking about ye oldie wars. I mean, whatever is next. Friedman also promised to beat William at Allin when he told the crowd to rise, but of course this is when Ospreay ran out there, and I always appreciate a heel who then goes, I'm gonna leg it, and that's what MJF did. Will Ospreay's big threat here is that come London 2, he is gonna put Maxwell through unimaginable pain. So I was like, well, that's gonna be interesting. I suppose he's gonna make him watch all the Katie Vick stuff from 2002. He then started talking about flags and how it's important to have your old flags. We salute the flags, so once again, you can see what we're doing here. We are just ensuring that when we do get to the United Kingdom, which is where this pay-per-view is happening, everyone can be like, oh, Will Ospreay, you're my number one guy. Nobody is recognizing this new stupid championship that MJF has introduced too, because when we go back to the international belt, listen to all of these people that have held this thing, and I tell you, Will Ospreay put this thing over like Rover. I do indeed think we're trying to make it into a massive deal. Will then told MJF he doesn't represent the USA as the crowd chanted USA when Max got on the microphone and said, man, all of you are a bunch of traitors. Just really flubbed up stuff. MJF also promised to ruin Ospreay in front of his countrymen with those crooked teeth. So once again, we are just in the stereotype alley, and isn't it great to be here? So basically what was old is now new again, when Max was like, it doesn't even matter, because you ain't making it to the end of August, because right here, right now, you have to fight Lance Archer. And he wasn't lying, Lance Archer did come out. I was like, bro, it's good to see ya, it's been a while. So this was all right, I think both of them have great chemistry together, but you could kind of feel like we were in a little bit of a holding pattern, because from next week onwards is when we do get to the real build to Allin, but I can't wait for this match. Again, what they did a couple of weeks ago was one of the best things I've seen on wrestling TV in ages. Give it up. We went right into this fight too, and because Lance couldn't be bothered to wait around, he just grabbed Ospreay and gave him a chokeslam instantly. I was like, yeah, that'll probably do it. It also meant that Archer could run wild for a while, and that's when I got really sad, because I started looking up at the ceiling in this building, and I was like, man, that's way too high. There's no way Lance Archer can throw Will Ospreay through that. Remember when he was doing it a few years ago? We haven't done it since. It makes me a sad panda. But even Ospreay tried to dive, Archer just grabbed him and threw him into the floor, and the thud after that, when I think Will realized, wait a minute, I do have some wrestling ringside friends, so all of a sudden we were using Barry Barricade. Well, to be fair, William jumped off that to give Archer a Hurricane Rana when he made that 2024 mistake, and he posed. Why is no one listening to me? I know I'm an idiot, I know nobody should listen to me, but you cannot pose, you cannot push your D-pad in 2024, because the opponent is going to see you, and he's going to crack you in the face. That's exactly what happened. The best part though is that when Ospreay went for the Oz cutter, Archer did it again and just black hole slammed this guy. And really that should have been the finish. I mean, that would have been daft. But at some point in 2024, I need to see this again and get the 1, 2, 3. Somehow William was then busting out Spanish flies, and the second one, especially from the second rope, was absolutely redonkulous. When this back and forth continued, and Ospreay went for the hidden blade, but Lance went, nah. He just took this guy's head off with a lariat. Like, literally. If it had come away from his neck and rolled down the floor, I wouldn't have even been perturbed. I'd have been like, yeah, that's physics. Eventually he tried for the blackout as well, but William was not having that, and he did smash him with the hidden blade when he took his elbow pad off to hit him with another blade that was hidden, and he got the 1, 2, 3. And I tell you, this was just a war, man. It was a good old-fashioned barn fight. You should see it if you can. It was just a lot of fun. Of course, MJF attacked William Ospreay right after this, and he was going to drop him right on the diamond ring, when out came Carl Fletcher. And yeah, he was indeed with Don Callis. He chased off MJF as he made it very clear, listen, I know that Will left the Don Callis family, but he's my best friend, mate, and I'm not going to let you do this to him. Fletcher then really went in on this guy because he called him a narcissistic asshole and said, listen, you keep talking about foreign wrestlers, well, I'm a foreign wrestler, and ever since coming to this great country, I've got my dream job, my dream car, my dream house, my dream girl, and nobody is going to take that away from me, especially a goober like you. So on behalf of the people of Australia, everybody is done with Maxwell's crap. And just when it looked like MJF was going to get in the ring to fight, he said, nah, bruh, that ain't happening. You want to be Will Ospreay. That made me laugh. He will take him on next week, though, and he's going to leave him in a pool of blood, much like he did Daniel Garcia. So bring it down. That's the crime counter. I don't know much about the law, but I do know if I walk around saying, oh man, I'm going to leave you in your own blood, eventually I'm going to be arrested. Fletcher then raised Will's arm, which was quite a weird way to respond, but you need to be keeping your eyes on Don Callis here, because I would hazard a guess that he was not very happy. Still, this is exactly what I was expecting, just lining up those beats until we do get to Wembley. And it is true, this is a real life story. When it comes to being the bestest of friends, Will Ospreay and Carl Fletcher are joined at the hip. Also, now maybe it means when we do get to All In, that it is Don Callis that helps out MJF to screw over Will Ospreay and allows Maxwell to carry on the run with that title. I mean, he only did just win it, and boy, that would be really controversial. But as you know, I like controversy. I say it all the time. One day I'm going to be dead. Just give me all the madness now. Give it up. But they got this great video for Swerve Strickland, which is always important, because let's not forget he is the world champion. When we cut to Chris Jericho, who's now got a broken finger. The learning tree were with him as well, and they had a cake for the guy, because as Big Bill told us, man, Chris, you have been FTW champion for 102 days. So obviously it's time to celebrate. Now Jericho was a little bit worried here because of course there has never ever been a wrestling cake on a wrestling show that hasn't gone into somebody's face. He promised that wasn't going to happen this evening, and I was like, once again, I am being educated. This is when Brian Keith said he was going to take out Shibata next week, and I don't think he means for dinner. The absolute highlight is that Alex Marvez was doing the interviewing here. When they did all leave, Brian said to him, if you respect Chris Jericho, you better eat that cake. Alex was like, well, I'm screwed here. And he ate some. So he is definitely my favourite part of all of this at the moment, when we did get to Kris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale, and Kris finally got her win. And this was good for multiple reasons. First, this was a title eliminator match for the CMLL Championship, and if you have been watching AEW for a long time, you know 9 times out of 10 when we get a title eliminator, the champion just wins. So here we are now circumventing your expectations. Secondly, we can now do this at All In, and as I keep on telling you, these two are great together. I could watch them fight forever, or like 25 minutes on a single evening. Anything else, probably too much. Statlander also jumped Willow straight away when Nightingale came back with the chops when Kris decided, I don't like this, and she was able to hit her with a suplex. Wrestling tennis. They then both remembered Barry Barricade was there, so everybody was getting thrown into it. When Willow hit the spine buster, she got a 1-2-ooh and we were cooking. They eventually fought onto the ring apron when Willow just gave Kris a DVD into that thing, and it is the hardest part of the ring. This is where we have arrived at in 2024. Like, it's just a random TV show on a Wednesday night, and you are getting crazy maneuvers like this? We do not appreciate it enough. Slowly Hathaway was then being an idiot, so Willow Nightingale had to go and sort that out. But of course, that did create a diversion. So I imagine Kris was in the corner, just gobbling up med packs, because when Dilla did turn around, she got smashed right in the face with a kick. Nightingale still came back with a DDT for a 1-2-ooh, so Kris was hitting 450s for a 1-2-ooh. And of course, this is when Stokely did get worried, and he threw a chain to Kris Statlander, which is totally unhinged behaviour. The referee Aubrey Edwards then had to go sort him out, which of course meant Kris went, ha ha, I know what I'm going to do. I am going to wrap this deadly weapon around my fist, or arm I suppose. She hit the discus lariat. Look, you can't get hit by a chain and not potentially be dead. Kris Statlander got the 1-2-3. Hathaway went and gave Kris a chair after this too. Oh my gosh. She laid waste to Willow Nightingale, which is doubly sad. I mean, 1, she's going to be in loads of pain today. But 2, why did nobody come out to help her? She has 0 friends. It was a really cool visual because these two then stood tall over her. And again, when we get to All In, if we do this championship match, let's come up with some kind of crazy stipulation. And I tell you, I'm going to go on record right now. I think they could steal the show. They've just got it. Giving it up. But they got reminded about the big chat that Jeff Jarrett had with Bryan Danielson last week, and it must have hit a nerve, because out came the American Dragon and he had some things to say. Now, he instantly won over the Greenville crowd because he was like, look, I'm not just saying I'm happy to be here. I truly am, because it was this lovely place where me and my wife had our engagement pictures taken. Without missing a beat on commentary, Taz just went, why? Once again, I laughed. The point is, though, Danielson wanted to talk about the fact that when you do see images like this, it takes you back on a journey, and also it reminds him of the time he had to retire from pro wrestling, which actually in hindsight is the best thing that ever did happen to him, because ever since he arrived in AEW, he has been living in a moment. He hasn't let anything pass him by, and that's why he's having the time of his life when it comes to his career. Like, man, Bryan Danielson, you're actually the best. Essentially, he has been mentally present for all of this, and he got another moment here, because all the crowd was going, yes, 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 and you could just see it on his face. He's such a happy pup. The thing is, though, he had once promised his daughter when she did turn 7 years old, he would retire or step away from wrestling. This also made me chuckle, like it was serious stuff, but some of the crowd started to boo, and then when he mentioned his daughter, they were like, oh, yeah, can't really boo that. Let's just move on. It very handily does tie in though, because tomorrow, or today as I'm talking to you, his AEW contract is at an end. And I actually think that is true. He's now basically working on a handshake deal. He is going to live up to this promise though, although it actually ties into two things that he said when he did arrive in All Elite Wrestling. One, he's going to kick a lot of people's heads in, which he did do. But two, he also said he would win the AEW World title. And look at him, when it comes to that, he's naked. So he knows deep down in his tum-tum this is his final shot, because everyone from his family and his doctors keep telling him, you have to slow down, Bryan Danielson. You're essentially breaking. Once again, I think that may be accurate. He got a lot of injuries. Even with all of that though, he's going to make sure that he is all in when it comes to All In, because just when he was going to say that, out came Swerve, Strickland and Prince Nana. I was like, Swerve, could you give it 5 more seconds? He clearly had something to say. Now, Strickland was magnanimous here because he was like, listen, Bryan Danielson, you're a hero to us all and you basically changed the business. But we are talking about the world title here. This ain't no achievement prize. It means you are the best in the world. And that's why I'm in ownership of it. I'm the best. It's also great too that Bryan Danielson had that amazing match with Will Ospreay, but he went and lost. And then what happened at Anarchy in the Arena when he took on the Elite? He lost. Well, when it comes to Swerve, he beat Ospreay and he beat the Team Elite in blood and guts. So once again, I think I'm better than you. It just means come the pay-per-view, Bryan will not be walking out a champion. And maybe he won't be walking out at all. And again, this is Swerve. He once tried to steal a kid, I think he means it. Swerve and Nana were then going to leave, but Bryan told him to wait. He's like, yeah, I heard everything you did say, but that's why I do want to put it all on the line, because not only is your world championship going to be up for grabs, but if I am not able to win it, I will never wrestle again, and I shall officially retire. So he's put his career on the line. He then offered his hand to Swerve and they did shake hands, and of course Strickland had to have the last word, which was totally crazy, because he went, well, if you are going to keep that premise, don't do it for me, and do it for your family. Just like that, it's personal. So this was proper emotion, and now when you do watch that match, your brain is just going to be doing backflips, because you're like, okay, well, it makes sense that Swerve Strickland could win if Bryan Danielson is going to retire as a full-time wrestler, but maybe we want to carry this on for a bit and give Bryan a short title run, which you could do, and that wouldn't hurt Swerve at all. I cannot wait though, and the best part about all of it is they're gonna have a good match. Even if they go out there and play tiddlywinks, it's still going to be awesome, but now we have all that beef in the middle that we can turn into a sandwich. Getting it up. Jeff Jarrett also found Bryan backstage after this too. Straight away, Danielson just pushed him and went, nah, bruh, I don't want to hear from you anymore, and next week we're going to have a match. Damn. Now, the rest of Jarrett's boys were confused, but I think the Double J does get it. Once again, let's just take a moment to appreciate the timeline we are in. It is 2024, and in August, we are going to get Jeff Jarrett versus Bryan Danielson. Keep hooking it up to my veins, which includes Shane McMahon. I think we're long enough into the video now. Just do it, Tony Khan. I need the chaos. It was party match time after this, and you can't get mad at AEW. They have told you time and time again that this is just what they want to do. And in terms of going to a party, well, I've been to worse. There was also Roderick, Strong, Roosh, and the Beast Mortos taking on Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, and Ishii. That was totally wild. Now, Cassidy did win straight away because he had his jacket. He was pretending that Mortos was a real bull. So he was like, yeah, come and get me. I actually think Mortos did. Worked. The coolest bit though is eventually Mortos realised how I meant to be wrestling, so he got into it with Ishii as they traded blows when the New Japan hero dropped this guy with a brainbuster. looked very impressive. Ishii and Roos then carried this on with the most sexually charged offense you've ever seen. By that I just mean it was really intense, but nobody could get the upper hand here, which essentially was going to be the way for the entire match. It was you go, I go, we all go. Somehow Briscoe was then able to get involved and he went for a dive, but Roderick kneed him right in the face. Mark was like, you can't do that for me. So he hit a suplex to the outside. So people just kept falling into the floor, and you heard that noise. I think the commercial breaks then may have screwed Orange Cassidy, but I don't know where the adverts are because I watch it on Triller TV. But when we did come back, for lack of a better term, Mortis and Roos were just beating this guy's ass. But why did we do that? So we can get the hot tag to Mark Briscoe, who just went crazy. I actually think I love this man. Ishii soon made a blind tag after this, and he must have upped his defense buff because he couldn't be stopped, when essentially we got the froggy bow, sliding D, and spinning DDT all at once. These guys are on fire. Mortis then did a dive because somehow he can do everything when Roderick Strong snuck back in there, and he dropped Ishii with an angle slam, and I was trying to keep up with this and make notes. People forget about this. I have to do that all the time with my head. This is why I miss stuff. Ishii didn't want to get end of heartache though, so he just headbutted Roddy right in the face when everybody was getting in here. And for a split second, it looked like Mark Briscoe was going to get the win, but he didn't. Because instead, when he was going for the J Driller, Roos was back and just murked him. When this Mortis hit him with that reverse pile driver, and he pinned him for the 1, 2, 3. I went all woozy-goosey here. It's like, wait a minute, the Beast Mortis got a win? We are living in very strange times. So for the match and the fact he did pick up the victory, I'm absolutely giving it an up, because if you know, you know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. But when it comes to Mark Briscoe, I had the opposite emotion. Because again, I'm madly in love with him, as I've already told you, but two, he is the Ring of Honor World Champion. I think there are some other guys in this that could have taken the pin. If somebody does have a title, I just think you can protect it a little bit. And I know, Simon, you're such a geek, you're such a nerd. Of course I am. Look at me, but it gets it down. I do want to point out, though, that I want to say bravo to AEW for giving us another surprise win, because now the next time we do have one of these matches, we ain't gonna know which way it's gonna go. When I do think we may be getting a 3-way at All In. Now, I'm not talking about anything sexy, but the Acclaimed were in the back, and they were like, well, here we are in FTR's hometown, and where is FTR? Well, they are nowhere to be seen. Max Caster then told us he's the greatest wrestler alive about 72 times in a row, but listen, given that Cash and Dax didn't turn up, and given that Cash and Dax keep saying, haha, the Acclaimed aren't serious wrestlers, well, maybe they'll head to Collision, and they'll confront them there, and they can have a big old scrap. Bowens then ended this by saying it's time to nut up or shut up. These are his words, not mine. But actually, if we do get to All In and do FTR versus the Acclaimed versus the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team titles, that could be really cool, because of course it's a callback to 2023, but we're also putting the Acclaimed back in a position where they can get some heat behind them. Those guys deserve it. I still really like it. When Renee Paquette was talking to Mariah May, and if you want the too long didn't read version, I think she could be crazy. Because since day one, she wanted to be just like Toni Storm and earn her trust when she opened her up and sliced her skin. I imagine someone said that to you at dinner. Be like, please leave. Now, I suppose the real nuts part is that Mariah made it very clear to Renee, Toni Storm didn't do anything to me. I just used her to get every single thing I've always wanted. I mean, Mariah has also been told the business is going to eat everyone alive, so she just decided to eat first. I was like, man, we are not in Kansas anymore, Toto. It also led to Storm just flying out to the ring when she was in floods of tears, and she had the bloody shoe. I don't mean, oh man, this stupid bloody shoe. I mean the shoe that had blood on it from her own head. She also just screamed out that apparently to find love, you have to let it kill you. So at the pay-per-view, we are gonna get the greatest romance of all time. When she held the title up, just started to scream. So once again, I was like, I don't know how to handle any of this. Now, I do think this feud is great and it's now totally bonkers, and it makes me want to watch the match. If Mariah May does become the world champion, that should make you feel very sad in your tootsie toes, because in terms of heroes and villains, that is not the way that it should go. But of course, it would add to all of this, and in terms of AEW's long-term stories, this is one of the best, so I am going to give it an up. But I do have to say this, I presume that Dynamite was running a bit behind time, and I just think it would have been so much better if Toni Storm could have really lapped this up, but she was wheeled out there at about 10 seconds, and then she was gone again. So that's a minor down. That's not her fault or anybody's fault. You have to stick to what the TV tells you, but I just thought it was a little disappointing. When we did indeed get introduced to the Mone Corporation, I was like, man, Mone Inc. is right there. 1990s trademarks be damned. But Mercedes did arrive with her brand new muscle Camille. this was just to show what a tank she was, because she was taking on Brittany Jade. She threw her around where she just hit her with this Dominator and pinned her for the 1, 2, 3. I mean, this must have gone 2 seconds. This is when Mercedes did introduce the Corp and said Camille is the brick house and she is part of the, I don't know, hierarchy, whatever you want to say. When we did see some footage from the Comic-Con over the weekend, or we saw that before the match, Mercedes went, because Britt Baker did confront me and tried to punch me in the face, she has been suspended for this week. Thank you, Young Bucks. She also feels like Britt Baker has victimized her and is totally obsessed by her, but now she is in control of the house. She's going to turn it into a flubbing mansion. The best line was absolutely when Mercedes said when Britt Baker does lose to her All-In, it will still be the very best match of her career, or best moment of her career. And I just like these two, especially this version of Mercedes. She is such a wonderful asshole. I am a bit worried that Camille gets lost in the shuffle, but actually we do have a little bit of a plan B here, because if she does interfere at the All-In match, which allows Mercedes to hold on to that TBS title, well, I think it could be a thing of beauty. It's gonna piss a lot of people off. That is absolutely me jumping the gun, though, and in terms of what we are doing on paper, absolutely getting it up. When AEW did it again, somebody called Brittany. But after Mortis got that win on the show, we did get our main event, which was Hangman and Page versus Darby Allin. And I was all nerdy going, well, there's no way Darby's gonna win, or someone stick a sock in my mouth, because what do I know? This was also totally excellent, and once again, I know, oh, this was a first time match. Why did AEW just put it on TV? Well, one, just to repeat myself, I'm gonna be dead one day, so give me everything. But two, if you're mad about getting free matches, send me some money. That's right, you can go to my Pro Wrestling Tee store, buy a t-shirt, I will happily take your dollars. Allin did totally start with speed here though, when he went for the coffin drop on the outside, when Hangman caught him and just gave him a German suplex on the floor. I was like, that's got to be a record, friends. Darby Allin is dead in 10 seconds. Page then went to grab a chair and the ref was like, please don't do this, which I assumed allowed Darby to get his powers back, because he climbed up the entrance ramp and hit a coffin drop. This Darby man, he is the very best and we do not talk about it enough. He also apparently has magic powers, because when he went for a springboard, the lights went out. Now in hindsight, I think there was just a power cut, but because it is a stupid world of wrestling, I was like, oh, who's about to appear? And then there was no one. We all live in a make-believe reality. It did not help Allin at all though, because when the lights did come back on, the cowboy just grabbed him and powerbombed him into the side of the ring over and over again. I mean, this was really brutal, to the point I was starting to get a little bit uncomfortable. Which is even worse at the moment, there's a heat wave in the UK. He then got murdered on Simba the Steel Steps, and eventually the ref went over to Darby, and I was like, are you okay? But actually in that moment, he must have learned a lesson, because when Hangman tried to do it again, he was able to sweep the leg a la Karate Kid, and now it was Page going into Simba, and it was carnage. He then did one of his amazing dives, and he is still #1 in that area. When he took his belt off, he just started whipping Page. Well, why not? It will work. He also followed up with a code red for a 1-2-ooh, which I also thought was very clever, because Hangman and Page was kicking out of everything at that point, so I did go into geek zone. No, he's clearly gonna lose. Idiot. They were then trading, as I think Allin was gonna go for a buckshot of his own, when Hangman just hit Deadeye after Deadeye. I don't think he ever wanted to see again. This is when Page went crazy though and just started to stare off into the distance, and even the commentators were like, would you look at that guy's face? He is not a well man. Now, Excalibur was trying to make out that he was looking at kids in the crowd, which I do like, because of course it ties back to that Swerve Strickland stuff. But the nerd side of me was like, Excalibur, there's no way you know what he's looking at specifically. It is just a great story beat though, and I love this Hangman Adam Page character. He's so damn layered. And when he eventually went for the buckshot lariat, we did that thing when Darby Allin collapsed. He's totally done. I think Page must have got a little bit cocky here, because he started feeding off the bones. Went from nowhere. Darby Allin just spun out of this, and he hit the most devastating move in all of sports, and attempted a surprise roll-up, and he got the 1-2-3. I stood up and clapped. That's how you use that move. Hangman also totally lost it afterwards and went full ECW from the late 90s, because he was just throwing everything into the ring as Darby stumbled to the back. And let's not forget, Allin not only has a TNT title shot in his pocket, but he has a world title shot too, and now he's got some serious momentum. And you just know we're going to go back to Page and Swerve at some point. This is some really good characterization and story stuff. There's also a brilliant main event that you should go out of your way to see, so I am going to give it an up. And really, this Dynamite in a package, if you want to call it that, has started to focus on the beats, which is all in. It's getting it up. Now, of course, make sure you drop me a comment below and let me know what you thought about last night's AEW Dynamite. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen for my ups and downs for Monday Night Raw. But yeah, it's just been a good week of wrestling. I'm very excited about SummerSlam. Then we will get to the end of the month and it's UK time. Hopefully the weather is like this. I'll see you soon.